Unintended consequences. Unintended consequences. So rather than making the good less expensive for the very people you want to help, you set the price lower, but there may very well be even less available. You know, historically, a lot of governments have done this in setting interest rates, a maximum rate of interest rate. They're called usury laws. Maybe some economics class they took about a usury law. Usury law. Maximum legal rate of interest. This is a perfect example of another well-intended regulation. Oh, keep interest rates low to help poor people. But if we think of this as the loan market, and this is the market rate of interest, little I for the rate of interest, and this is the rate of interest maximum set by the government, all you're going to do is make less loan money available for low-income people, because at the low rate of interest, some lenders are going to say, it's too risky to lend this kind of money. How do I know if I'm going to get my money back? If the government mandates this low rate of interest, I'm going to save less, or I'm going to not lend to this segment of the population. The problem is, another unintended consequence of this, is that not only do you therefore lock some people out of the loan market, but now people have to resort to less seemly ways of getting loan money. Because some people might be so desperate that they now go to what could be called a loan shark. So this is the illegal supply, right? A loan shark is an illegal money lender. Some people are so desperate, they just need the money and they can't find willing lenders at this government artificially low rate of interest, so they resort to the money lenders. The problem with this is that some people desperately go to the illegal money lenders, the loan sharks, but now they pay a higher rate of interest than if the government had left the market alone. And there's other negative effects for those who have to resort to an illegal market because the government has prevented the legal market from working. If you are an illegal money lender and the borrower doesn't pay you back, what recourse do you have? You know, legally, if you don't keep up your house payment, your car payment, none of us would want this, but the loan company can repossess the car or the house, right? They lent you the money, you didn't pay, it's their car or house. But what does the illegal lender do? He can't go to court and say, Joe didn't pay me back my money, because it's illegal for him to lend at that, right? That's why he's a illegal lender. So he has to have a private collection agency. This is some Italian guy with a baseball bat. Hey, the boss, my name's Guido. The boss says you ain't been paying back your loan. Do you like those kneecaps? Oh, sir, please, not my kneecaps, no. Well, you better be paying up quick. The boss is a nice guy. He's giving you 1 more week. Of course, it's now a 700% interest rate, compounded minutely. But that's only because he's a nice guy. You better have it ready next Tuesday. I mean, you want to deal with that? I don't think so, right? I don't think so. But that's the problem with it, and these are unintended consequences. Often these regulations end up hurting the very people that they were supposed to assist or help. Again, you know, there's an old adage, the road to hell can be paved with good intentions. The very people who want help with a minimum wage, you know, who are unskilled, you just price them out of the market. People who you want to help by regulating a price to prevent people from charging what you consider to be too high a price, such as a too high a rate of interest, to low-income borrowers, you end up locking some people out of being able to borrow at all, or desperate people having to deal in an illegal market that has its negative side effects. So all of that needs to be understood in terms of these price controls. All of these need to be understood in these price controls. Production regulations have their own aspects, production regulations. Now, the most extreme form is government prohibition. Just because the government decides to prohibit the manufacture, sale, purchase, and use of a product doesn't mean that it's going to work. We can just use quickly the US example. Okay, here is the demand and the supply for alcohol. in the U.S. Okay? And this is 1920. 1920. In 1920, there was passed an amendment to the United States Constitution. It's called the Prohibition Amendment. It was made illegal to import, produce, transport, sell, purchase, or use alcoholic beverages. No whiskey, no beer, no wine, no nothing. Okay? I've been told that there are certain people who have nice homes that they built back in the 1920s and 30s because they were the illegal rum runners to the United States from the Bahamas. I'm really shocked. Could that have happened in your country? Unheard of. I don't know if you know it. All of you are familiar with the president of the United States from the 1960s, John F. Kennedy. I guess you have this highway named after him, right? You know, his father, Joe Kennedy, was a very wealthy man. You know how he made part of his wealth? He was a bootlegger, as they call it, a rum runner. But instead, I don't think he did most of his smuggling during that Prohibition time from Canada. I don't know if he did much from the Caribbean. Okay. So the father, the president of the United States, I'm shocked. Anyway, so before this came into effect, here was the supply and demand for alcoholic beverages in the U.S. The day after this law came into effect, it was in January 1920. Supposedly these curves disappeared, right? No more legal supply, no more legal demand. The curve should, right, this should now be like blank. There's no market, no supply, no demand. Well, you think that happened? Well, you all know it didn't. All of us know the history a little bit, right? Demand decreased, there were always some goody two-shoes. Oh yes, I have to obey the law, the government says I should. Okay, so there's always something, oh yes, it's against the law, now I have to be a good boy, no drinking. Well, not everybody said that. So the demand went down, but it didn't disappear. And then supply. Oh, the government says I shouldn't produce or sell alcohol anymore. Well, I guess I'm not going to do it. No, you now had a huge illegal market, right? Demand illegal, supply illegal. So the price was higher. And the supply decreased somewhat, but there was this huge black market in the United States. Okay. And it had all of its unintended consequences. It became now gang warfare. Bootleg organizations producing in illegal locations in the United States or smuggling it in from Canada to the north or Cuba or the Bahamas or Bermuda or Mexico from the south. It led to street violence, right? This is Al Capone's turf in Chicago where we deal with the alcohol. You got to get the guys on the east side of Chicago, shoot them up. Okay. And corruption, right? Well, you know, you have to bribe the police because they might raid your warehouse so you have the alcohol. You don't want to lose all your inventory. So you bribe the police chief to either have him not raid your warehouse or you know when he's going to raid, so you can basically get most of your stuff out and leave like a token case or two of whiskey so the chief of police can look good. See, we nabbed 2 cases of whiskey. Of course, the 300 cases were gotten out through the back door before the raid. Okay? And of course, the corruption of the legal system. Right? You know, have to have an informer in the government attorney's office, right? You know, are they going to go after the boss? Are they going to try to prosecute him? You have to have the informer in the government attorney's office. Maybe you know, have some blackmail information or bribe a judge, you know, to get a lighter sentence if one of the big boss's lieutenants gets caught. That's the real world. So all of that generated this type of total prohibition. All it did was drive it into a black market. Now, of course, I could change all this and say, well, of course, prohibition ended in the United States. They had a new amendment to the U.S. Constitution in 1933. So in December 1933, the earlier amendment was repealed, so then it was illegal to produce, transport, sell, and purchase alcoholic beverages in the U.S. again. But we could change this, and what could we make this? We could make this, of course, drugs today.